Just get the running John Garfield.
We know what he did.
We know exactly what he did. He ate lasagna. Anyway, I'm Pat.
Yeah, I'm Jeffrey.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
How many podcasts do we have left before this absolute nut job of a year is over?
Oh, I don't. Let me.
I think we have two.
Yeah, because Christmas Day.
Christmas Day is on a Wednesday,
off,
so
yeah.
Sunday, and then the following Sunday.
Right.
We could, in theory, no. So the following Wednesday will be the first one of the new year, because it will be New Year's.
Yes. That's correct.
You know, man, that's like one holiday I never celebrate.
New Year's?
Yeah.
Not since I was in my 20s.
The last time I was actually out for New Year's, I think Kevin and I went out for the millennium. We did. We went to Denver and spent the night with his brother on Y2K.
Wow.
That's the last time I've actually been out on New Year's night.
Oh, hold on one second.
Yeah, no worries. Jeff is doing work.
That'll work.
I got all my work done today, man. She's donezo. So, I'm tired.
Well, yeah, you got a lot of stuff done, dude.
I am tired,
yeah.
man. Yeah. So, today I just kind of vegged and watched TV all day.
Have you deserved it?
I did deserve it. So, I actually even treated myself. I got up early this morning.
No?
Oh, yeah. So, I let my wife sleep in. I took my daughter to school, and I went and got myself 2 MacGuffins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I'm never up that early. So, except for when I'm going to work.
Right.
And then I never have time to get MacGuffins.
Yeah, because you're not the kind of, it's like, I'm going to leave like half hour early. And,
Oh, no.
take breakfast to the office.
No.
Like, nah, fuck that.
No, never. No, breakfast is coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
If there's time for it. If not, it's like,
Hey, man, I got
go to
push
work
button
without it,
coffee
man.
at my house.
I
So,
know.
yeah, it's just fine. If not, at work, we have those awful Keurig things. So,
Yeah, I feel like,
hey, man, they'll do it in a pinch.
no, they're fine. I mean, just, people have commented on it, and, they're right. These are incredibly wasteful. So for how much waste it produces, right, it better be the best goddamn coffee and come out in like 6 seconds, and it does neither.
No, it does neither of those two things.
And yet at the same time, you're like, well, who still has these? It's like, all right, well, like Jiffy Lube. And then every hotel that you stay in
Yeah, they
has...
usually have the hot chocolate ones because everybody tore through the coffee ones already.
They usually have 2 regulars, 1 decaf, and like that, and a couple of like bags of tea, and you're like, who else is still using these?
Yeah,
because they're incredibly inefficient. It's like the worst.
Well, you burn through them so
sadistic.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so like my office, we used to have the old truck stop, pour it in the top kind of thing. The old school coffee maker. So, and it broke. So
Wait, what?
we used to have the old school. I don't know if you ever had one of these at the office, but like the one with the two burners on it. Okay. And so you'd have hot water in one and coffee in the other. Oh, no, you never had one of those. It's the giant steel appliance, man. So, and it's got 2 burners with 2 side-by-side pots. So, and that thing was great, man, because you could just make a whole pot of coffee off of, like, you do the coffee filter trick where you put one in and then you put the coffee in and you put another one on top of it so that it doesn't get grounds in the fucking thing.
No,
Really?
no,
Okay. So it's decidedly like that thing probably dated from the 70s. It was great, but someone left it plugged in while nobody was in the office for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And the plate cracked.
Oh,
So,
I see.
Yeah, so they just hooked it. And then of course we get this flimsy, like razor thin plastic Keurig machine, And yeah, you're right, it's wasteful, but it does give coffee on demand. So I guess it does it serves its function.
It does. I mean, I don't want to say it's insulting. There's something to it where you say, all right, so look at this thing. What does it do? It produces exactly 1 unit, right?
Right.
It produces exactly 1 unit. And again, it's not. If you think about it, you're like, okay, well, there's two of us. It's like, well, you wait, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do one, then you're gonna do one,
Yeah.
right?
To be blunt, that's never happened where I work. Like almost everybody there is like converted over to tea, or there's a Starbucks that's like a 4-minute walk from the
All right,
office.
fair enough.
So yeah, people hit that. There's an Einstein's that's maybe a 10-minute walk. So
Okay, well,
yeah. So like I mean, I think
Yeah.
like there was only a handful of us that were actually using the coffee pot.
all right.
So I guess it's a decent solution. But yeah, the whole Keurig box is full of me picking through the donut shop ones
Yeah,
and then leaving all the chai tea ones
exactly.
for everybody else. So for the French vanilla ones, you know.
French vanilla is what you got to use.
Yeah,
if
hey
the
man, it's
donut
still
shop's out.
it's
Yeah,
closer to
still,
coffee than
yeah.
hot chocolate. Yes, I guess,
Absolutely.
or a hot apple cider. Although those are actually really good, so they don't last very long when they get a new box. So
No, but it's hot apple cider. It's not what
not
you
coffee.
came for, right? Yeah,
No.
yeah. That's it. One of those things is a cold afternoon drink. The
well,
other
yeah,
one
and it
is-
goes
yeah.
better with bourbon. So
Yeah, all right. So, okay, there's that, and I'm not gonna. I guess I'm not gonna fight you on putting a little whiskey in your coffee either. But that's not for. It's not the '60s. It's
no, we don't have mid-afternoon drinks.
no. I don't. I mean, as much as I love the idea of just I was like, what are you? It's like, well, this is my job. Whatever it is, I smoke here, and that's your problem, not mine.
I haven't had a job like that in a long time.
Oh well, no, well that's
A
what I'm saying
long
is
time. Yeah.
in the classroom, in the
Oh God,
wherever,
yeah.
in the office, wherever it may. In the
I've never worked
airplane.
in I've never worked in an office where you could smoke. So
Exactly. It
I've
was-
worked in offices where most of the people did smoke,
Yes, that's
but
different.
not in the office.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
We were about 10 years away from that being.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember we had that thing, growing up and going to the school up there where you open the teacher room lounge and a cloud of smoke
Yeah.
would come out of it. So, I remember my third grade teacher. He smoked a pipe.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah, there was that. There was. I mean, I know that my dad, when he was in the Air Force, I mean, I think they were smoking constantly in there.
My dad did when he was deployed.
But
So,
yeah.
because he'd go to like Korea, and like, there's no such in the '80s. There was no such thing as a non-smoking building in.
Right. Yeah.
So
It was just a building.
it's just a building. Yeah, there's 4 walls and a roof.
And I think Korea is still relatively civilized when it comes to the treatment of smokers in general. I don't
I
think,
think that's Asia in general, though, man.
generally speaking,
Yeah.
yes. It's not as,
You gotta have like a majority white population before that becomes bad.
unless you're France. France.
Oh,
is,
unless you're France. Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
France is still like. Are you really gonna hold your cigarette next to the fucking Mona Lisa? It's like, yes, I am.
Yes, I am.
Because that's what we do here.
Yeah, they like smack the vapes out of your hands. So,
I think they're actually like blocked at the front. Door.
There's contraband.
It's kind of like that same thing was like, no, actually, champagne comes from Champagne, France.
France. Yeah.
If you try and import "quote unquote" champagne into this
Champagne.
country,
Yeah.
yes,
That's the penalty is death.
yeah, we will actually, blow off the gallows.
Oh, the guillotine.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Yeah,
There is no smoking where I work. None. Zero.
no,
No.
just
There's not even ashtrays outside. There were when I started. They're all gone. So
It's sort of it's weird in the sense that we've kind of retroactively sort of excised it from our culture, right? It's weird
it's
where
kind of weird.
it's somehow there are certain things that are left over. Again, I looked at the data the other day. It just came up in a topic where this is how many hours, I think it's a year, the average American works versus the average EU person, and the gap has
It's like
been
double.
yeah. It wasn't quite double, but it was like at a third. It was
Yeah.
at a chunk that made you look at it
It's
twice
like
and say
50% more.
it was a lot. Yeah. And there's just something where you look at it and say, all right, so that quote unquote Protestant work ethic that has been part of the culture is still alive and well. Because I mean, if you
In some parts. Yeah.
well, I mean, it's
Oh, you mean here?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Very much so.
But you know, certain parts of that used to be like smoking. There are things that used to be like part of the American work culture, the American social culture,
That's
and it's
gone.
just gone.
Yeah. Drinking's way down too, man. I saw something on that the other day. So, like, the kids don't drink like we did. Or do.
What do they do?
Huh?
What do they do?
I don't know. So, they don't smoke. They don't drink. They don't fuck. So, I have no idea. That's what all the
Sounds like
data
it's-
says.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sounds
that's
like
what.
they just avoid each other. To be honest with you, then
They might be better off for it. I don't know.
on a societal level, no.
Nah, it'll be fine.
There's this.
Shit,
well,
man, they'll invent shit. You make it so you have kids in your 60s in the future.
you're probably not wrong. I mean, there's a there's a number of you know medical things at the corner that make you say like, so, all right, well, there's a lot of promise for this. There's I know in Russia it was announced this week that a cancer vaccine was released and given out free to the public. I
In
don't.
Russia?
Yes, that. So, right, I know.
Right, yeah.
So-
It sounds a little scammy.
So if you're looking at the golf ball sized grain of salt that comes along with this,
Yeah, the lick.
because if you recall, if you go back to the COVID days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Russia was also the first group that said they had a COVID vaccine. If you can remember, they said that they were the first
think
one
you're
that
right,
was
yeah.
completed.
Yeah. Well, I know that Putin was like absolutely freaking terrified of that stuff. Remember him at
sure,
his
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
18-foot long table?
Absolutely. And now I presume that he does that to keep assassins at bay. But
Dude, I bet you he just locks himself in the bathroom. for
Probably.
enough time, you know? So-
yeah, so I remember him being the first to say that. I think I don't remember when China said theirs was ready. but
It was early, and then they found out that it was basically just like sugar water.
no, there was like some dawn in there.
Little WD-40, you know. You're just gonna shit it right out, you know.
It's just good medicine. There should be soap in here.
You're
yes?
right. Yeah, exactly. It's disinfecting. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, and I remember the Russian and the Chinese ones. The thing was, they couldn't be taken. Like other countries wouldn't order them because they're like, these are garbage.
Well, I know that China sold, well, or somehow like large sections of like Indonesia, Malaysia, and even India got their hands on Sinovac, which is what it was called.
Right.
And then they rapidly found out that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they stopped doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that there was a lot of bad blood there.
You think?
Well, yeah, and it got started. I mean, that kind of didn't help things, but I do remember those China guys following that a bit during the COVID thing. And they were the first guys to actually call that whole thing too, man. At least the first ones on my feed. Because they were talking about it in like January of that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those dudes did. They straight up had some inside knowledge on that one. There's
did.
no two ways around it.
Well, and yeah, and like one of the guys, he was like the very first guy was like, yeah, there's a thing here called the Wuhan virus, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
Well, listen, I got keyed into it basically before any of y'all did. And
you totally beat me to the party. I mean, I had fucking nurses at school telling me, blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, fine. So
yeah, there was look, and part of it came from people. Like I said, when you hang out in some of the worst places on the internet, this is basically people that they're aware of this. They're malingering on this because what is the? I'm trying to remember the name of the guy. It's the I'm trying to remember which Wojak it is. It's basically the one that's
what's
always
a Wojak?
Okay. So
This is an internet term that I don't need to know.
have you? All right,
I'll just pass.
No, stop. 'Cause this is something that'll probably like come across your feed. All right. So have you seen those like MS Paint image drawings of the guys with like their mouths like way open, right? And then
Oh yeah.
okay, so those are all Wojaks. Those are all versions of Wojaks. That's the
Like the little troll guy and all that stuff.
not the troll guy. This is basically
Okay.
like so the way that this guy. So like if you see the one with the two guys and they're like pointing at this, and being like,
Yeah.
Right?
That's Wojak.
those are Wojaks, right?
Okay,
These are
got it.
basically like so if you go to people that are basically like your typical like dumbass like leftists where it's like, all right, my girlfriend's my wife's boyfriend bought me a Nintendo Switch, and he's like, like this,
Oh,
where
yeah,
it's
okay,
like
I've seen that one.
this whole idea of like identity through consumerism and these kind of dorks like this, right? There's a whole culture of this. I don't want to go into this too far, but there's also one. I think he's called the Chudjack because his whole thing is nothing ever happens, right? Nothing ever happens, and so there was this thing with this Wuhan like leak over there, and this suppressed data and what was getting out, and a lot of people were using this as the like, oh my god, is it actually happening? So
Right.
they were gathering as much data to basically put a calculation of like how many people are really dead. And this was before
from China?
Yes, this was
That'd
before
be hard.
anything had reached our shores at all, right? And this is when not just you, I'm not picking on you because everybody was like, did you just wash your hands? It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, we had been spoofed with that so many times at that point in time.
well, I mean, California declared a state of emergency today because someone has the bird flu.
Fuck that.
One person
Cool.
has the bird flu,
Yeah,
yes.
they know who it is?
I don't think they said.
Are they letting him run around and like fucking lick people?
I don't. Yeah, that's true. I don't know why you tag and release someone who's sick.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah. But yeah, they went into a state of emergency. So, I mean, look, there are people out there that are still like casually wearing masks and stuff like that, and
I know a few people who still do that.
and again, I get the Asian side of it. It's like, this is so I don't cough on you.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
But as an advanced filtration method, it's really not.
No. Like, I know two people who still wear them. I know one of them does so because I know he's got a family member in his house who's got bad leukemia. So,
Totally different story.
Very different story.
That's got to be basically like a clean room.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other one, I think he just likes wearing them.
That was
It's fine.
there was an argument back then during the COVID days where a lot of guys were like, look, truth is none of you can tell how ugly any of us are.
Yeah. So this guy's not an ugly dude. He's just
I'm not saying that he is, but
no.
there's
No. Well, I know that's the Asian thing. It's like I'm not wearing this because you're sick, because I don't want to get sick. It's because I don't want to get you sick. So
right. That would it's a long line of things that would bring shame to my family.
right, yeah. Either that or I didn't do my makeup today. So
That's correct. Yeah.
yeah, that happens too. So
Now, I'll admit that I do like wearing certain kinds of masks.
like what?
Like any ones that have like those like little, filter things on the sides.
Really?
Yeah, because then I get to make noises. Then
Oh
like
yeah,
the
you
whole
do
time,
sound like Darth Vader.
Yeah, then I just the whole time I'm like
yeah. Bring my shuttle.
pretty much. Now, again, that's not something I'm not gonna it's like,
Right, you're not going to go into Lowe's. Well, maybe Lowe's, but
Lowe's in particular. Yeah, so when you're talking Dairy Queen is the
you're not
answer
going
you're
to
looking for.
Dairy Queen like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Fair. So no, but they did call that one. So yeah, I watched the whole thing on that the other day.
Did you? Just kind of like a
Just,
roundup of...
Yeah, no, it wasn't even a roundup. It was just an update. This one guy's been working on it for a while. This basically does these debate circuit on lab leak stuff, and
All right.
I don't see what about that debate isn't actually settled. So I mean, and the whole thing about it is who the fuck cares? It doesn't matter. Okay, I mean, you're not going to go to China and say like, "Hey, you owe us $80 billion." So they'll be like, "Yeah, we'll get back to you next week about that." Don't wait up.
I think that was I think you and I made a supposition about this a long time ago too. We're like, so what happens if we do find out? It's like, what if we find out that it's like it was Doug? Right.
We just beat him in the parking lot. I mean,
like, what is that going to do for us?
It
Yeah.
doesn't do anything. So, yeah. I just it's just kind of like why. Well, and so all right, so I guess that's kind of the point is what does it do? So why are you still hanging on to that? Does that make sense?
The only purpose I could see in that is to investigate and say, are there any other places where this is actually actively happening? And if it is, what do we need to either A, do differently? Do we flamethrower the whole place? Do we,
Well, no, I'm talking about why would you hang on to it being natural origin?
Oh,
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, God. That, I have no idea.
No. I see the other side of it. That makes sense. So
no, this is the same. As far as I'm concerned, this goes in the same realm as like holding on to data of like there's a gene for homosexuality. It's like there's not.
No, there's not.
There's not. And I hate to say it, but logically there never would have been.
Right. Yeah. So that's pretty easy.
Like,
yeah,
I don't. There's a possibility. The thing is, you say like, okay, well, so let's say that there's
maybe it mutates when you turn 45. You never know.
Okay, yeah, but more so like if you say like, all right, well, this is the result of a mutated gene. You're like, okay, then it's a mutated gene. It's not
right. Yeah.
Right. This is not something where you look at it and say like, all right, I can go there and I can say like, all right, I can tell you what the appendix does. We don't use it so much anymore.
Right.
But I can tell you what it was there for.
Right.
And the same thing, but there's no evolutionary advantage. You're like, how does this help?
Why was the appendix there?
Your appendix is sort of like,
so like a goiter?
It's not quite like a goiter. It's kind of, it's like, it's, I don't want to call it a garbage disposal because it's not.
Oh.
It's sort of like a, it is something that helps treat your body, right, against a certain kind of, like if you're eating certain things or if you're it's something that'll stave off death by being an additional piece.
Okay.
Right? Against like infection or what, certain things. It's again, it's a mostly useless thing, but for a while there, it's like when you had like real food scarcity, it's like, okay, this would protect you, and now at this point it's it's vestigial, right?
Right. Okay.
But and that's the same thing as like, well, I want to use the born this way argument. It's like, well, it doesn't exist. So since it doesn't exist, let's face reality as is, right? And not pretend. Let's we don't have to say like this is bad or good or anything like that. It's just don't use that argument anymore. And in the same way, it's like don't use the like this came from that little dinosaur looking thing in China. It's like that little like,
the pangolin.
Yeah. It's like don't use this kind of like it came from nature shit. I'm like it's pretty clear it wasn't. Let's not pretend. Let's not.
I mean it doesn't. The argument just doesn't serve any purpose that I can see. So
it detracts from the major point of like how did this get out in nature in the first place? And
it's just sunk cost fallacy stuff, I guess. I don't know.
You think?
That would be my number one guess. I don't know. So I guess you'd have to take that on a discrete basis, So why are you still believing in this? Oh, because this is my Twitter feed.
Right. Okay.
I'm not going to delete it.
That's you know what? That's a good point. So in the same way, the like the Russian disinformation from 2016.
That one, I can't believe there are still some dudes who hang on to that, and unfortunately, there's like the same 5 fucking journalists, who somehow still have goddamn jobs out there somehow, man. So
never gonna give it up. No,
he's one of the few guys that I threw a rock at on X.
So which guy?
I think it was David Korn. I threw a rock at him the other day. So I don't know if you know him, but
where's he from?
The elite media. So yeah.
Oh, which
he lately I think he's I don't know actually. So but he was pretty. Him and who was the other guy? That Canadian fucker. Were big on the Russiagate thing. It's right on the tip of my tongue. I see him every now and then. He was George W. Bush's speechwriter.
Oh.
Yeah, he wrote the "You're with us or against us" speech.
He wrote that, huh?
He wrote that, and he was diehard Russia, like deep in. So on that. So, God damn it, I'll remember his name in about 5 minutes when we're on a different topic. So.
Oh, by the way, speaking of which, Jeff Bridges was the Jeff that we were looking for.
Jeff Bridges?
Yes.
When was this?
Like 6 months ago.
The fucking Lebowski? We could have come up with the Lebowski?
We kept thinking of Jeff Daniels, and
oh no, that's a different guy.
and yes, so speaking of like old things, this is the shit I was talking about. Was at the ice cream parties at school, they would always have this pineapple shit.
Oh yeah, the Smuckers.
Yes. That was the other stuff that I was talking about, but I couldn't remember what it was.
Did you just happen to walk by it the other day and it was like, hey, there it is?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
There was so every now and then, all right, so you know how the organizations go with like grocery stores and things like that, where you go in there and it's chips. It's all chips. It's chips all the way. You go in there and it's bread all the way. And every now and then on like some of the ends, what they'll have is basically like a construction kit. So it's like, you thinking about making sundaes or something like that?
Yeah.
So it's like, here's ice cream cones. Here's, this.
Yeah.
And down there on the bottom, they have jars of that marshmallow shit. And
there's a name for that. It's called an end cap.
Oh, yeah.
No, like, seriously, like, way back when I was working on my master's, my professor of marketing, he was the guy who came up with that. So, dead serious.
What, calling it the end cap? Or?
No, just the concept of having, like, hey, at the end of each aisle, you should have, like, 5 grab-and-go things that all go together. So, he did that. He tested it all out in markets all over the country, blah, 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 wrote a bunch of papers on it, and then within 5 years, it was fucking everywhere.
It makes perfect sense.
Because it used to be, remember, it used to have the big bin full of those plastic balls that nobody bought?
Yeah.
And the only reason that was there was because it was easy to move.
Is that so?
That's so,
okay, well, that actually makes perfect sense. Yeah. I do know that in some... So this was something that I noticed in North Dakota, and it's not really that big here, is When you go to a place like Cashwise Foods,
What is a Cashwise Foods?
it's a grocery store in North Dakota, and so that
Okay.
they are big on bins. They are big on
Oh yeah.
bin bulk stuff. Bag, you get your bag and
Yeah.
you get like a pound of granola and a pound
yeah.
of like gummy worms and shit like that. Like, we have all but done away with that here.
You find it real, dude. When I lived in Nebraska, they had that at Walmart.
Really?
Fuck yeah,
That's
yeah. Because
okay.
you got guys who come in, they come into town like once a month,
Yeah.
and so they just load up on shit like that.
Oh,
So,
I
yeah.
see. All right.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was. That's a way of life for some folks, because just for me, it's
Well, I mean, you use it for a lot of things. I mean, if you have a dairy farm out there and you're making your own yogurt, okay, or whatever, so you want granola and yogurt every morning, there you go. You buy 8 pounds of it. You know?
God. But you're right,
And it
yeah,
never
this
goes
is-
bad.
this is-
Yeah. So yeah.
I'm the wrong guy, because it's like, well, I go once a week.
Right.
If I buy 8 pounds of this, I'll eat 8 pounds of this. I
Right.
will
And then
gain
I'll go
8
back
pounds.
next
Right.
week.
Yeah.
I'll gain 8 pounds.
Because yeah, that's the problem too. Is yes, you could get 8 pounds of granola, but if I go 2 steps over, it's like, well, this is 8 pounds of floppers.
There you go. Yeah.
All right.
So, gummy worms. Yeah.
Gummy worms. I got no place for that in my life. I don't like the texture anymore. The taste is.
No, man.
It's. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like chalky bad fruit. It's like.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not.
Well, it's the anticoagulant thing.
You're right. There's.
It's okay, man. But get your anticoagulant, gummy worms now before RFKJ gets in that job, man. And then all your gummy worms are going to be like brown and and stuck together.
It's gonna be hard.
Right, exactly. So you're gonna have to break off a chunk.
Listen, man. I am not. I am not opposed to actually taking a broom to some of the things that we've been putting in our food.
To be fair, I really haven't looked into it. So it is not something that's really hit my radar. So fine, whatever. Change whatever you want. Let's see what happens. I'm not going to oppose nor support nothing along those lines.
You're just gonna wait and see what happens. Right?
I'm
Okay.
definitely gonna. I'm gonna tailgate this one out, man.
All right. I don't have a problem with that approach. I'm not somebody that's like fighting for this overtly, but there are. Again, this came up in I can't remember how this came up. It had to do with like obesity stuff, and there were just things that I couldn't reconcile, especially against other places in the world. I'm like, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is a one-for-one thing. This is, I look at this and they say like, all right, the whole, look at this and say like, is there anything wrong with seed oils? I'm like, I don't know. And then they go into like, well, this is how they get oil from this.
Uh-huh.
Like, so you just put it in there, you just squeeze the shit out of it. It's like, yeah. And then it's
Okay.
like, how do you get it from seeds? And there's like 14 processes and a whole bunch of shit added. I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't sound good. I'm like, is this in many things? It's like, it's in everything.
Seed oil?
Yeah.
Oh, why?
I think seed oil somehow at some point got the moniker of being healthy.
Oh. I don't know. I haven't paid much attention to it. So, okay. Yeah, let's see what happens. Yeah.
So there are certain things that I'm like, all right, well, I think,
Are we talking like sunflower seed oil or
yeah, keep going. Yeah, the rapeseed, all the
grapeseed?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have seen people use grapeseed oil in cooking because it apparently has a really high
like smoke.
smoke. Yeah, what do they go? Smoke point? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And evidently, it's because it's not really a natural oil,
Grapeseed?
right?
Yeah.
Because of what they do to it. Now, again, this is. I'm at the point where you can examine anything at this point because, like, the numbers in this country are bad.
Yeah.
Like, really bad.
So I'm curious, like, I know Colorado's supposed to be one of the skinnier states out there.
They are.
Yeah, and so, like, just doing, like mental scans of decent population
So you
sizes
give them
that I
the
know.
visual pat down, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that bad. It's not as, I mean, but then I was thinking about it as a kid. You know, growing up, there were like 4 fat kids in my classes. So, yeah. And I mean, it was all good natured ribbon and stuff like that to a point. But then there was that one kid who was like,
Huge.
yeah, exactly. So, but now, like, every class has a couple of those. So,
You usually had 1 or 2 huge dudes per school.
right, yeah. Yeah, or guys who are a little bit chunky. So,
Well, I'm talking about not just like, I'm talking about where it went past chunky. So I mean,
Right.
like, so me and Greg were chunky kids, but at the same time, there would also be a dude who is.
guys had you beat.
That's what I'm saying. There were dudes who were like the big guy. We had dudes like on the football. As a matter of fact, they play football because they were like great on offensive line.
Yeah, they were difficult to tackle. Yeah. So, or they'd wrestle because they were the only guys in that weight class.
That's true.
So yeah,
Unless you met the other guy in that weight class
then it was sumo
from Malcolm X Shabazz High School, and that dude
who's half Samoan. You know? Yeah.
and that dude would pin you in 4 seconds.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, I guess so. Having spent time in Houston, which I believe is the fattest city in America,
Houston?
I believe it.
Oof.
I did get to see.
Yeah, I believe that.
there,
Yeah,
so
it's been a while since I've been there, but I do recall that there was like very good food about every 10 to 15 feet. So,
even I mean, and here's the thing: it's not. I picked on it for having a lack of individuality, a lack of character, right? Because a lot of it was, which version of TGI Fridays would you want to go to?
Right.
But that's not necessarily bad. And there were some, because it was Houston, because there was such an influx of people, from Louisiana, there were some great seafood places. There were some great French places,
I didn't go
Cajun
to
places. Well,
I went to barbecue joints, man. They were
see,
delicious.
okay, yeah, there you go.
Absolutely delicious. So
I should have done more of that. But when you look at the locals, there's a little bit of
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's just the food though.
I don't think it's just the food. I think
yeah.
I would. I'm starting to wonder if there are certain small things that and you and I keep joking about the 15-minute city, and we always will, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if just a little bit of walking is enough to make a difference in those places versus, you take the car everywhere in Houston, and you go right
maybe.
to the door.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
But I mean, like, that's the whole thing. Like, walkable cities and, the idea of actually, like, living very sedentary lifestyles, which is true on a certain, aspect of it. But, like, a lot of it is, all right, so fine, society's going to change faster than your biology is.
Correct.
So, all right, so we go from being basically everybody was a farmer, sun up to sundown, or you were working in a pin factory or something.
Right.
To like, all right, now we all have an 8-hour workday, okay, and we don't, have to do all that stuff. Well, the same thing's true in Europe. They don't do more pull-ups than we do. So,
This is true.
I mean, but if you see, like, if you, like, just look at some of the comparisons of, like, what's a supersized McDonald's meal in France look like
Right.
compared to here,
Yes.
okay, so, I mean, honestly, if they're going to regulate anything that would actually cut down on especially childhood obesity, it'd be that. So,
Yeah.
because if the kids get hungry, fine, you get six Mac Nuggies, okay, and like, a little bag of fries, and you're still hungry, great, go have some carrot sticks. Fill up on something, and so I think that's a big piece of it too. But, then my quasi, dumbass libertarian side, the little piece of it that I have yet to exercise for myself, also says that, hey, you know what, if you're going to pay for that, fine. So,
Right.
But, I mean, it might come to that. I mean, like, there's a whole revolution going on in fast food You know, because it's not fast and it's not cheap anymore, and it's not gonna be in the future. So it will never be cheap again, Jeff. So
I don't know that.
I don't think it will be. I think your days of 89-cent tacos are fucking gone. So
I don't know
with,
about
like,
89-cent tacos. I mean, so this is to be to say that, like, okay, that once hit, like once gasoline hits a certain level, that it can't go back down to certain things. It's a trend that's always going to rise upward, but I mean, I don't see this as something where it doesn't, dip downward at some point here. But not to fucking 1990 levels. We're not talking about the $5 like party box. We're not
definitely not going to get that.
The Arby's 5 for $5 will never happen again.
I mean, shit, dude. Arby's. I went over there the other day. That place is struggling. So,
Would you want to talk about a certain model that does not exist in a market? Is like, well, so you charge like steakhouse prices.
Arby's is cheaper than McDonald's. I was shocked.
Some things are cheaper than McDonald's. McDonald's does have they do have sort of like a blowback menu on this. They have items that will get you back to sort of regular prices.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that a Big Mac isn't like $7.
Yeah, but I literally went over to Arby's the other day. I got 2 beef and cheddars and a large curly fry for $12. That is unsustainable. That is absolutely
for them, yeah.
That is, and there were two guys working there. Yeah, it's fucking cooked, man.
Arby's is it's just
dude. Any place that requires more than like like half a dozen people to run efficiently is fucked. So I mean,
that's not true, because Chick-fil-A is gonna. Chick-fil-A has
they have more than a half dozen people running that place. Anything that's less than that, is fucked. Yes. So yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying more. Like, so all right. So the thing that I read today, just earlier today, about fast food, there were 2 culprits that they were calling out to the mat.
Mm-hmm.
One was Steak and Shake.
Oh, they already closed the one here.
And the other one is Five Guys. And
yeah, I can see why, man. I mean, fucking 8 years ago when their business model was booming, I remember standing in the line there and counting heads. I was like, there's no fucking way you're going to make that much money off this place without a drive-through? So, and so what did they do? When they started hitting the labor pinch, they just upped their prices. So, and then on top of that, you got to pay for all the transportation costs now and stuff like that coming in. I bet you can't get out of that place for less than $40. So,
per person?
Well, I mean, if you go in there and order a decent sized meal, yeah, probably at least 30. So, yeah. I bet your burger's probably like $16 now. So,
that surprised me.
Yeah, fries, soda, tip tax. There you go. So.
Yeah, it's rough. And I make this argument when it comes to obesity too, is we aren't addressing the problem that we have to. This is just if human beings were meant to exist in a certain environment, right? And our biology adapted to do that, right? It hasn't been long enough evolutionarily to the point where enough of us have died. And only the people who are basically like, who their metabolic systems are regulated enough, right, to where you don't want to engorge yourself when food is available, because that was the survival mechanism. Yeah. So like, all right,
well, that'll take 20,000 years.
That's what I'm saying. Ergo,
Ozempic to the rescue.
You're absolutely right. And that's the thing is this is something that we cannot look at and say like, all right, this is a societal problem because we have completely abandoned what our biology dictates us to do, right? And if that's the case, right, you're putting people where they are constantly at a struggle of doing what goes against their biological nature, which is to see plenty and to fill up on it. Right?
Yeah.
Because that's what we do.
And it's really tasty too.
It is really tasty. Don't get me wrong. And I'll say like,
I mean, that's, that's a big piece of it.
It is a piece of it, but it's, again, listen, if our ancestors had grown up and there were Twinkie plants, then yes, I understand.
Oh my God, they would cover the land. Yeah.
Right. This would be the first thing that you cultivate. Yeah, but so you
the harvest is so good.
You have to
like the size of fucking football season.
But yeah, so
Monsanto brand Twinkie.
But to them, I mean, this is the thing: is they didn't have a point of reference to say like this tastes so good.
Right.
If it was food, you're eating it. Right.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't put as much deterministic weight on biology. I think you can actually control quite a bit of that. I mean, a lot of it is like, I think a lot of it's just culture. So to tell you the truth, I mean, like we love the fast food, man. We love Doritos, all those things.
Yeah, but
and I get that they're good and stuff like that, but I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, all right, so let's see what RFKJ can do. All right, maybe there is some shit in there, and like just pushing the button on the margin a little bit will actually make a big difference. So
it's possible, but
yeah.
I mean, look, what I can tell you is, versus now, versus a lot of families that I grew up with, like, I don't know, at least around here, fast food was something you got maybe once every 2 months, and it was like, what was the occasion? It's like, well, it was my birthday, or
exactly.
it was
that's because it was expensive. So
not only was it expensive, well,
I mean, it seems cheap, but it was not cheap. I mean, if you were making like shit, dude. I mean, my dad went 16 years without a raise. So, like, going to Arby's was like our Thursday after school treat. Okay. And you went maybe once a week, and that meant we weren't going anywhere else that week, or we weren't going out to eat, because sometimes we go over to like the Rocco's or, Piazza or whatever.
Sure.
We like to, jazz it up.
Hey, you guys ate out more than we did.
And well, that's because my mom stayed at home and slaved in the kitchen all day for the daycare kids.
Yeah.
So she was like, fuck this. I'm not cooking you fuckers dinner. Let's go out.
Absolutely. No, I understand that. What I'm saying here is, I mean, for crying out loud, like when we were younger, they didn't have combination packages. Everything was a la carte, right?
Yep.
So the thing was, it would be like, why did you get fast food? It's like, oh, you know what? We were coming back from the dentist. There was no time to cook, or it was like this was going to be like a treat thing. It's like we were at Ross, or whatever. And the other thing, the same thing goes like going out to eat for us. Yours was you're in a daycare. Yeah, I totally understand.
Different.
It's like, F that, get out of here. But, we'd go out to eat a couple of times, a year, and it usually wasn't too pricey of a place. The other thing goes where, same thing, it was have a Dr. Pepper, right? Mm-hmm. As a treat.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I totally get that, man.
Versus, like, again, it's the same, like, we've joked about it. We see kids like, that's your third rock star today, son. Like,
that's definitely a cultural thing, man.
I agree.
That is totally a cultural thing, And
you look at it, it's you look at the drink, you're like, it's not it's not like black licorice or like coffee flavored. It's like fucking birthday cake. Like,
gummy birthday cake.
Yeah.
The cotton candy swirl. Yeah, no, I mean, actually, it's okay. Yeah, if you actually want to affect something that would probably have a really big impact, it would be soda. So
that's a given. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, so shit, you just get off the corn syrup, I guess. I don't know how good that argument still is. I haven't looked at that one in a while. So
all right. So the one thing I can say on this here is you can look at it. You can say there's a compelling argument where they say corn syrup, the difference between it and sugar is the way that it's processed. They say the way that it's processed is basically the same way that alcohol is processed in your. It's all done through the liver. This is
corn syrup.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is where they say this is where we're seeing extended and more. A lot of cases of fatty liver with people that never drank.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Because they say this basically it's processed like a toxin in the same way that alcohol is, which it is. I mean, there's yet oddly enough, this is the weird thing about it is there's always 50% of reports that say like, hey, one drink a day is fine. And in fact, it's good for you. You have two, and now you're in trouble. I'm like, oh, wow, that's a really thin margin. But there's also this component of, well, our history, our ancestors have drank alcohol.
Holy shit. They drink.
In great quantities. I mean, this was the whole hoax of the you've heard this about the monasteries where they're like, it's a miracle that they haven't eaten in 3 weeks. They're like, did they have beer? It's like,
drink a lot of beer.
It's like, well, that's a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Every meal.
Kind of.
I mean, it's the thing is it
maybe
has
a wafer. You know,
with how much they were drinking.
I don't know. I don't think we actually know how much they were drinking.
Evidently, the monks put it away. Is my understanding. So, but yeah, so there's a ton of like stuff in that, and yeah, like alcohol. Like this is. I remember this. There was a first-hand letter about. You probably read this one. This was It was an accounting of somebody who was basically trying to get his parents to buy out his indentured servitude when he was here in the Americas.
Huh?
All right, so he was here because he was an indentured servant
back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day.
Okay, all right.
And he's writing this letter to his parents, like, please, like, ask Uncle John. Ask, like, round up anybody that you can, pay my way the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And one of the things he was complaining about was there's nothing here but water to drink. And again, it was something that they had to stop in class and say, guys, I know this sounds like a terror, but nobody just drank water here for 2 reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, number one,
poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the ways to get something clean to drink.
Yeah.
Was to, distill it and put all it. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. And plus, yeah, if you're out there and you're basically like cutting logs or like carrying bags like all day, and you don't have like ibuprofen.
It's good.
Beer me. Yeah.
Beer me up good. So
yeah.
Whiskey, please.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll have to see what they do with that.
So my whole argument here is like, all right, so if we have changed society, if we're part of this biological, and you're right, it's a little bit person to person. Some people are going to have harder fights with it than others, sure. But the thing is like, all right, so if we're here, then look, we have to trust science for the answer, and that is what it is.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's the whole Ozempic thing too. Is appetite suppressants might be a big player in this too in the future. So
it needs a little bit of like rounding out.
Oh, of course, it's brand new. So yeah.
There are people having some pretty severe like gut bubbles out of this, but
I mean that just means that it works a little bit too well. So because I mean the same thing's true with people who have gastric bypass. So so I've had friends go through that, and it's like it's the surgery to actually take care of the skin problem is more expensive than getting the actual bypass. And he's like, it involves way more risks. So so you just strap her down. So, but if that means you're going to live another 10 years, fine. So all right. So okay. We have people who have fat rolls out there. No worries. So
hey, man, possibly the most effective solution was the dude that had the spigot right there on the stomach. So you overdo it, you go to the bathroom and just uncork it and
let her rip.
That is so.
It's very Dune-esque. It's
it
not
really
lethal,
I mean, if you want to talk about just circumventing the problem, it's like I get it. And again, that's part of like that's nature. It's the same way where look, people always get caught up in this whole point of where upon in the medical line do you say like, all right, you're playing God, you're doing this. It's like, all right, well. So that means this is something that came up in the recent like Supreme Court thing. It's just like, well, by that definition, we shouldn't be taking aspirin. It's like, yes, I know that.
Right, yeah, we
know.
shouldn't remove appendices, and
Like,
stuff
yes,
like
I understand.
I'm not going to put much stock in that argument.
No.
So just because, like, if it's your grandma and if this thing actually helps her, or if it's your wife, or even worse, if it's your child, so you're going to do
Right.
it. So you
Right.
know what? Don't give me the moral indignation of, like, oh Lord, you're playing God. Rrr. It's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of what we do. So yeah. So, yeah, no, I wouldn't put any stock in any of that.
And I think generally speaking is where do you draw the line? You know where to draw the line. There's a I don't want to say that there's an ick factor because I don't like to use that as an argument, but there's kind of a point where you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah, cloning humans is kind of icky. So yeah. Like being able to pick out your kids' like facial features like a fucking character builder.
it's a little bit weird.
It's a little weird.
Yeah,
that's a little weird.
It's a little weird. I don't know. It's and this is again I could like take the competitive approach and say like, well, if you do this and you know the statistics, you say like, well, this will increase their likelihood of this, and this. I mean, am I gonna fault somebody for doing it? I don't know.
I don't know. It's just, yeah, there's just certain things. Just, I think we can pass on that.
You roll the dice on it.
Yeah, so like, is your life at stake in this case? No, then, I think you'll be okay. So
that's a weird one.
Yeah,
And it's the thing about it is it's all a personal level, and that's where I say like the ick factor comes in. Like it's going to be a little different for you than me. Like cloning, maybe I don't know. Maybe if you clone the part.
Yeah, maybe if it's a life-saving thing and you got to put a new one in. Okay, so I mean, it's like making a new car part, I guess. So,
Well, basically, yeah. So essentially, it's like, well, Patrick, you need a new liver, and they're like, okay, can you make one that's compatible? It's like, 100% compatible because it's yours,
right? Yeah.
And so what they do is they basically like.
Print you a litter.
Yeah, they stick a needle in your liver. They say we got some cells from it. We're going to put it in here. Here's the UCLA CNC machine.
Right. Yeah. To carve it out of a steak.
And there's like, okay,
throw a cow in one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, actually, it's true. Okay, so first we need liver meat to do this. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so they throw an entire animal inside that crusher thing, and they just they get the bulk scoop and
yeah, but there's limits to all that stuff too, because like shit, the cloned sheep was like 30 years ago.
Remember how that was a huge deal?
That was a huge deal, and everybody's like, oh my god, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then it turns out that actually when you do that, you basically like chop their lifespan in half.
Which is weird because
so and like I was reading about this thing a little while ago where there was a little while there where I was on this like longevity kick, so where they were talking about like there was that guy who's I can't remember his name, but he'd been on Rogan like once or twice, maybe 2 or 3 times.
I say I know how you get into this kick because I've been walked there myself.
Yeah, I got ambushed. I was like,
Yeah.
this guy's not a comedian, so maybe I'll listen to him.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was talking about like all these prescriptions for adding years to your life, and all of them were terrible. It was like, wow, that's not a life that's like really worth living, but whatever. So, but then, after a couple more years, and, he had done some research, and, some other guys had peer reviewed some of his shit. They're like, nah, actually, like we can find plenty of counter examples out there of people who smoked a pack a day and lived to be 108.
Right.
So,
Yep.
and so there's fundamentally a genetic marker that basically has your born on and your expiration date on it. And
Plus minus,
minus,
Yeah.
and the plus minus is pretty narrow. So, unless you get in a car wreck or get shot or, I don't know.
Well, okay, so
Yeah.
So this is asbestos.
Nuclear missiles.
Yeah. And nuclear missiles.
Right,
is like,
yeah.
you live on.
Don't go to the doctor when that thing gets bigger.
That's correct. Or if you go to Will's old house, and it's like, you live under these power lines, huh? You go outside, you hear
Your ears start ringing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so barring all of those things, yes.
How close you live to a 5G tower.
Yeah, you decide to like become a snake handler or something, you know.
Yeah.
So
It's like the same people. It's like, wait, so how old are you? It's like 104. It's like, what do you attribute your long life to? Toll House cookies.
you hear that one all the time. Yeah, one glass of brandy in the morning before my coffee. It's like, wait, before your coffee? You know? I've been doing it all backwards. You know?
Yeah, the brandy helps the coffee go. The coffee helps the cigarettes go down, and then it's
right. And you walk up and down 2 flights of stairs a day,
and they're skinny as a fucking rail too. Yeah,
well, almost everybody who lives that age is. So, you don't see too many 100-year-old people who are fat. So,
No.
And it's not because they were always skinny. It's just. Dude, I'm watching my mom go through this now. So there's
going through the reverse.
There's just something when you hit your 80s that you're just like, I'm not that hungry.
Yeah.
So and I mean, and that, like, even her doctor told her that. She was like, well, I need to watch what I eat. He's like, you can eat pure chocolate, for the rest of your life. You'll be fine.
Does your mom have a touch of the beatus or no?
The beat it? No, my mom never has.
Okay.
My dad had a touch of it, but he actually beat it. So
That's right.
yeah.
My mom does it.
Yeah, your mom. Yeah. So no, her brother does. So he's got the diabetes.
All right.
So, but he was the only one in that family who got it. And to be fair, that man had a sweet tooth. So
Right.
that man had a sweet.
I know I do too, but it's just I have a rule, man. It's just all right. You buy so much, when it's gone, it's gone. You can't restock until it's done.
Right.
Yeah,
That's a cultural thing, Jeff.
If you're stupid and you eat it all on the first day,
You have to
that's on
suffer
you.
for the next
That's
6.
correct. It's like, I really want something sweet. It's like, okay, why don't you go ahead and like eat these cloves or something? I don't know. Just something. It's like, I don't know. It's like, what's left?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing. If you leave it at nothing, then and you don't, if you don't break down, I mean, it is what it is. It's quantities.
Yeah.
People will argue. It's like, well, you shouldn't spike it that hard. It's like, look, I get my blood work done more than most people. I have to have it done every couple of weeks because they have to see they have to check my blood viscosity like every now and then because otherwise they're running a steroid clinic. And if you go in there and your hematocrit's too high, they pull all the other numbers. I'm like, I know where I am with this, so it's like, all right, I get it. Bulk whoppers, as we've discussed earlier, if you decide to go through them all on Monday, they'll spike you, but
Don't do your blood test day after that.
don't do it that day. But at the same time, if you're not eating bulk whoppers for the rest of the week, you're okay.
Yeah.
6 good days versus one very, very bad day.
Yeah.
It's usually okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not excusing it. That's not how you moderate. No, I'm not defending my degenerate lifestyle because most people
Lifestyle's not degenerate.
just look. My father was the paragon of this, where he would get this many Cheetos, put them in the bowl, right? Take them out in front of the television. He would have that many Cheetos.
Yeah.
Right? That would be followed by his glass of Dr. Pepper,
Right.
because he would fill the one glass and not fill it back up.
Right.
And then he would have his 2 after 8 mints because he was classy.
The Andes?
No, Andes were commonplace, but the after 8s were the ones in the box. And you open up the box.
Oh, I don't remember those.
And they were super thin in paper sleeves. Individual ones. And you would pull these out and he'd have 2 of these.
I don't remember
Right?
those. Cool.
Right.
Yeah. Not my dad.
Oh.
My dad ate pretzels until he was full. So, yeah.
I mean, when the cutoff is. You actually say, like, I don't want to move.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you sat down normally, and now when you sit up, you go.
You gotta get a little going.
Get a little wobble.
You gotta get a little...
What is that? It's like you're rocking yourself free in the snow.
Up we go. Here we go.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I argue that technology will have to be, part of that.
Technology will be about 80% of it because, quite honestly, Jeff, social engineering is almost fucking impossible. So I see so many people try and say that, oh, this is this and this is that and this is them trying to get you to. It's like you don't understand exactly how hard it is to actually conduct any kind of social engineering, especially when it comes to consumer choice. So
it seems arrogant.
It's more difficult to it's a little bit more difficult to organize than a spaghetti dinner, and most people can't fucking do that. So
well, I can't do Wednesday. I'll never be able to do Wednesdays.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, well, it's on Wednesday.
Fine, I guess I'm not going.
And it's just us people, picking on people on a general level at this point, because I mean that's sort of true. Is like, if you really want to do this, you'll go on Wednesday.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you don't really want to do it.
That's correct.
Yeah. So don't come. It's fine. So yeah, Oh man, I hate that passive aggressive bullshit people do.
I have managed to avoid a lot of it recently, but it's still there.
I get it every grading season.
Oh, so, yeah.
Well, you didn't tell me that. I was like, yeah, I did. So, like, well, that's not what it says right here. Right, because it says it right there. Didn't want to repeat myself. So,
I hate to break it to you. This is not the first time I've done this.
Right.
This is not the first time I've heard this particular argument.
Yeah.
Can I cut you off right now?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like skipping dialogue and so.
It really is. It's like I've played this game before.
Yeah. Oh well. No, I'm just tired of it, man. So I was doom scrolling on the Twitter the other night, and I started to see like how many people do it that way.
The passive aggressive?
Yeah, it's bad, man. It's everywhere.
Well,
so
what version of this did you come across that bothered you so much?
You and I were talking about something along the lines the other night that was similar to this. It was the any person of reason.
Yeah.
And I started
anybody that have a brain.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're paying attention,
Right.
So, and I was like, wow, man, a lot of you guys do this. This is bad. So,
well, especially with those things that aren't the correlation and causation thing, because like the one where I see that come up the most, right, is, all right, it is true that amongst the left versus the right, there is, generally speaking, more college education on the left.
That's decidedly true.
It is true,
yeah.
Right?
Not on Twitter, though.
Well, this is the
Almost
thing.
everybody on Twitter is educated, Jeff. Yeah.
I understand. Yeah. However, right, it is the basis of that comparison to say that, well, that means that the left is generally more intelligent than people on the right.
That's not what that means, but I see, yeah.
And so if I'm going to play that passive game right there, right, I think you can tell how that manifests in discourse.
A lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you use $5 words. Nice. Good for you, buddy. So, yeah. So.
And when they actually break it down by like department, and they say the number of liberal versus conservative instructors in the field, my field is it was as close to 100% liberal as it
Oh,
gets.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think yours would be too.
History? Oh, yeah, for sure.
Does history really swing that far?
Oh, badly. Yeah, really bad. Unless you'll find a few guys who are wandering around in military history that are pretty conservative.
Do they count the same way?
No, they don't, man, because they usually come in through the back door or the side door rather than the front door.
Oh, do they?
If anybody comes in through the front door, they basically get indoctrinated. So, I mean, in graduate studies, I spent 1 year in graduate study. All we did was Marx. So
for history,
well, yeah, because the historical dialectic. So I mean, it's a whole school of like how to. That's like I was talking about like Kamala Harris's dad.
Yeah.
So the same thing is true in economics, but in economics, it's counterbalanced by this Austrian field on the other side that's completely libertarian. And so they kind of, it's just two different ways to look at something,
Right.
methodologically speaking, and how you're actually going to approach any kind of problem that you're trying to solve. In history, it's Marx. Okay, so Marx is, Marx is the 800-pound gorilla in the room, because the dialectic is something that explains why things happen in history. He's one of the few guys who has done that. Okay, and it's immensely popular. So and then like there's this whole, like, some of the best history in the 20th century is written by the French, who have this entire school. It's ground up history. So it's you don't worry about what Napoleon's doing. You worry what the widow woman and the baker are doing down the street, because that actually tells you more about what's going on in France at that time.
Okay.
It's a good way to study it, but it's inherently Marxist. So does that make sense?
Okay, so that's basically like cost of a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread.
That
history.
matters way more than what Napoleon
right.
had for breakfast. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, because that's sort of like great man theory has been torn down in history for a long time, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
right?
that goes all the way back to fucking the Romans. The great man idea of history, and then it it basically got murdered off with Marx. It took that long. So because
right,
history history before was never really, it was more of an art. So
what is it? Okay, so
it was like being well read. It was like you would read Shakespeare, then you would also read like Livy, or something like that.
Right.
You'd read these two things. One of them was fiction. One of them was non-fiction.
Whatever.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, and so, or you'd read Caesar's War Diaries, which are a little bit fiction and non-fiction, but written by Caesar, so it's a historical document, right? So you'd read that alongside of reading, fucking Diogenes or whatever. So, and that was just being educated, okay? And it was only like in the 19th century where history and literature became humanities, and they had to have their own kind of thing, and so they each needed different, governing theories, so that's where literary criticism, critical theory comes from. And in history, of course, they adopted Marx because, even though people say he's an economist, he's actually a historian more so than anything else, so you can depending on which camp you're in, you can kind of claim him as your godfather, so.
Or it sounds like you could disown him just as easily.
And they totally do, and I mean, so but history is definitely one of those ones where it's probably 96-4. So, and then anything that has anything to do with or,
English was literally at 99.
I guarantee it is. Most of your humanities are going to be that way, especially if they're dealing with anything. Even things that are kind of like social sciences. Social sciences are overrun with this shit. So if you went into political science and you became a libertarian, you'd probably be crucified.
Right.
So, same thing's true. Economics is one of the ones where you can still find a home if you're a little bit on the right of things.
Right.
Because there's guys in there who are, 800-pound gorillas that you can hide behind.
Right.
So, and I mean, these are guys who see, but economics is turning into math. So it's not they don't do theory anymore. It's all math. And so, it's kind of trending that way, and it has been for a while. But yeah, sociology, criminology is bad.
Yeah.
So even though a lot of cops go into that, and then they find out, it's like, holy shit, you guys don't know what you're fucking talking about.
Well, this is again, this is not for me to. This is where that particular argument of well, this is an uneducated crowd. It's like, well, not really, and that's to say here, it's. I can look at the number of years of college, and I can say, yes, I can see that as a benefit. I can also see this as a hazard. I mean, this is the problem, is to look at this and say, all right, listen, Patrick, you know me. When it comes down to it, if somebody wants to throw down and say excuse me, sir, we need to go ahead and have a duel of 50-cent words, I think I'll swing the bat with most people.
Yeah, you
with most educated people,
you're
right? that
Yours would actually have some meter to it as well.
I could do that.
You can do that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and you know the tricky thing here is I would never take that experience that I have both learning and teaching that and turn around and say that anyone that didn't have my particular education was uneducated. I couldn't
I
look
wouldn't
at
do
this
that
and
either.
say like
Yeah.
people, the things that I've gathered. I mean, as you look back, Patrick, so when you look especially at like your undergrad stuff, like
Sure.
what are the things that you took from it that were most valuable in terms of you being a person, as you being a thinker? Let me put it to you that way. As a person,
Oh, no, almost nothing. Seriously. Yeah. Like, I mean, the thing about it is like, honestly, not till I got into grad school, and particularly when I did postgraduate school, did I really learn like what it means to actually be intellectually honest about things. So, in undergrad, it was like, read this, make an argument. It was all arguments, all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And then later on, it's like, no, actually, don't worry about the fucking argument. Figure out what's actually happening. And it was like, well, wait, what? So that took a little bit of me getting used to. So, and I mean, that was like, particularly like in my master's course, and I could have done this in my undergrad if I had been a little bit more clever about it. But I wasted 2 years in fart school, so so I didn't have any
everybody should be entitled to 2 years of fart school.
2 years of fart school, is
whatever
fine, man.
manifestation that is.
Yes, and so I wasted 2 years in fart school. But if I had actually taken even just a basic undergrad economics course, I would have latched onto that, because the first time I took one in graduate school, I was like, oh shit, that's kind of cool, because I can walk out my door and I can see that happening. You can't do that with history. So I can't walk out my door and watch Pearl Harbor happen.
Not Pearl Harbor. I mean, if you
But it doesn't train you to think, to apply the things that you know to things that are right outside your door. That is very different. Okay, so in history, you're taught to think about these huge overarching narratives, and I mean, the trends and forces versus the great man kind of stuff.
sure.
And so you're always thinking in the atmosphere. You're never thinking on the ground. So, and if you're doing that ground up history where you're talking about 18th century France, right before the revolution, I can't walk outside and see that. Does that make sense? So
It sounds to me, it sounds like if you were going to try to do that, you'd be forcing things. You'd be
absolutely, and that's exactly what they teach you to do. So in history, it's all about like, what evidence can you provide to support your argument? So you always come up with your argument first, and then you go hunting for evidence.
Right.
That is 100% backwards.
I don't know if we've talked about this on here before. I know between you and I, this is. I don't know.
But to be fair, graduate study history is not like that.
Right.
Undergrad very much is, because they're training you how to write and how to think
Right.
in terms of historical trends.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
So it's not a really good comparison. And thank God, like, the amount of people who are enrolled in history programs is a fucking historic low. So that's a good thing.
Right. So this is the tough thing is there's a lot of history, I think, that is very interesting due specifically to the amount of conjecture it requires to put it together versus, so basically the less documentation there is around it, the more interesting it can be.
Oh, absolutely, because
Right.
that's where you start filling in literary pieces of it. It's great.
Now,
So-
the thing is,
Did the Iliad really happen? I don't know. So,
maybe parts of it, maybe, I mean, you could look at this thing like that people do the same thing with the Bible. It's like, there was a flood.
there was a flood. Yeah. There was a Sodom and a Gomorrah. We know where they are.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
They do look like they got wrecked.
By what, we don't know for sure.
Kind of looks like catapults, but we're not sure.
Right.
Could be God.
Yeah, so there's certain things where it's like, yes, the lack of information, but everything post about 1999, where all history was being documented at all times.
Oh no, man, that goes back to almost 1850 now.
Oh, I'm talking about
Yeah.
in real time. I'm talking about like
Oh yeah.
12:15 a.m. on the AOL Instant Messenger boards, this was said, right?
Yeah.
There is absolutely no mystery to the when
No. Yeah.
at
No.
all. At all.
No, the only question is eventually, like, looking for a needle in a stack of needles.
Yeah.
So that will be the historian's conundrum in 100 years. I'll be dead. It won't be my problem. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. And again, that's the same problem that I see with a lot of armchair historians. Of course, on Twitter and any place that you look here is
Twitter is the worst place to go for historical knowledge.
There is none.
It is the worst.
I mean, because really, it's all people have is one product, and they're just looking. It's like, would you like to buy some Hitler today? I got. They got one product, and
you got 12 packs of Hitlers here.
Because that's
get inside a Hitler sauce.
Tell me I'm lying, because that's all that people want to. If they're selling a different part of history, it's doing this as a purpose to grease the hole for Hitler. It's like where you're
grease the hole for Hitler. That is gorgeous. Yeah.
But I'm not wrong, because it's like, all right, so if you're making the argument that it is like this regime, right, then what you're doing is saying, like, ergo, that is a pseudo form of fascism.
Right.
Grease.
Ergo Hitler.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you remember when Godwin's Law was actually a thing? So, and man, that thing just burned to the ground. I mean, it like burnt down to atoms. It doesn't even exist. So,
Patrick, you and I, we
that used to be a thing.
Oh,
you couldn't do that.
Well, you would do that and say, like, you Godwined me. It's
right,
like,
yeah.
Leave this house now.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I didn't mean
you
to.
Take off your shoes before you come in here. Yeah.
Well, if you recall, okay, so remember that The Phantom Menace came out in 1999, right?
Yeah.
September 11th happens, and a whole bunch of other stuff comes out. And we're watching these other Star Wars movies, right? And George Lucas says that these ideas that he has are all from his original scripts. I'm like, then he starts actually using the quotes from George Bush speeches, right?
Right. Democracy dies to thunderous applause.
Yes, and of course there's the part where he actually says, he's like, if you're not with me, then you're my enemy, right? And he said that.
I know he said that. Yeah.
And then Obi-Wan, right? Obi-Wan with nuance, because they were making fun of Republicans at the time.
They were.
Obi-Wan takes his, lightsaber off his hilt, and he says, like, only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Right.
Right. Now, fast forward to 2016 and above, where it is like all Hitler all the time. It's like,
Hitler all the time.
It's you're either this or you're this, and these are the good guys.
Right. Yeah.
Right? These are the good guys now who deal exclusively in absolutes.
Right.
Right. So I remember you and I rolling our eyes at that point, saying, like, would you get to the lightsaber fighting already? And it's downright subtle.
Yeah.
In comparison now. But yeah, it's that same thing where, how do we come from like 2003 to saying dealing in absolutes is absolutely unacceptable? That is the lack of nuance. This is the and I get it, because this character, you go to the, good old case by case Obi-Wan, where it's just kind of like,
keep it classy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, I can't write him off as a bad guy just because, he's
It's all right. I remember saying something along the lines in 2016. Well, I didn't vote for him, but I wish him well. I always want my president to do well. Holy fucking shit, Jeff.
It's,
you can't even do that anymore.
It is a weird thing. And yeah, so, to turn around and say, like, all right, I would say it's safe to say that the party changed. Because if anybody was representing as left aside as you really could, I would say George Lucas was there.
He was pretty far there, yeah. I mean, him and Tim Robbins was always over there. So.
Sure. Yeah, no, there's
Susan
Sarandon. Yeah, there was a crowd of people that were always on that part. But
Rob Reiner. He was there then, so he is an OG when it comes to that.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, Rob Reiner did the thing. He did the thing where, instead of saying, like, as an elder statesman of the classic version of this, That dude said, "No, I'm still cool, guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna rip my shirt off in the middle of this
I'm still cool, guys. I'm with you. I'm with you." It's like, yeah, go ahead and yeah. You see
Way to
that,
go,
dude?
meathead.
It's like, yeah, you know what? That's true. Because Donald Trump won. Go ahead and shave your head. Go ahead and not show up for Thanksgiving. Yeah, so tell your family they suck. Tell them that they, he got on board that train.
He did.
You are supposed to
He did.
stop there and say your version of this is dumb.
Well, that's when you take your chips off the table and go back home.
Right,
Yeah,
that's
but no,
true.
he was
Yeah.
like, no, actually,
It's like I
hit me. Like, sir. Sir, you're at 21. Hit me, motherfucker.
pretty much. It's like you have to bow out of this here. It's like you don't belong in this particular part of the political discourse because it's dumb. You have to grab the dignity that you had here, because you flip it around and say, like, a lot of you like 70s 80s guys, you don't have a place in this anymore. Get out.
No, not really. I mean, other than the fact that they're not dead, but yeah, like Hollywood types, no, not really anymore.
Like, sure,
man.
you got nothing to say
You
about
got
this.
nothing worth our time. So yeah, I mean, there's still some of that going on. The one thing that I did see that was a little bit different this week is I did see some of the Never Trump guys kind of like, all right, I'm done. So he was like, yeah, all right. He's like, I'm on board. I'm gonna sign up for Red Team. And everybody's like, get the back of the bus. Like, yeah, okay, no problem. That's where I belong.
Exactly.
So, but I'm gonna get on this bus. So, and everybody's like, all right, dude, welcome aboard. You stay quiet for a little while.
Exactly. It's like, you get to make this. Yeah, as you are climbing that first step, you get to say, like, I want it to be known that I'm getting on this bus reluctantly, and
Everybody's like, get the fuck off.
That's where the person says, like, okay, noted, but yeah, you go to the back.
You go to the
bus,
back,
like,
yeah.
and you don't get to talk for a while.
Right. So we'll come bring you a Coke.
What this means, my friend, is that if anything good happens, you get to take no credit for it because you bitched.
For a bit, but he is on the bus.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's fine. So,
and it also means from the back of the bus, and you're reluctant, you have the benefit of saying, if this empire blows up, you get the first I told you so.
okay, and there might be some of that going on, but the couple of guys that I watched, there's one guy in particular. He's like, yeah, okay. So he's like, and they're using this. Well, getting shot makes things a little different. So I've seen that, and over the last 6 months, it's like, okay, yeah, fair enough. So, but all that Russia stuff, stop that. So,
You're right.
There is no P tape. We know this now.
Well, so I mean, the other component of this is you also in the same avenue, right? Say this. There comes a point where even if your candidate lost or won or whatever, there comes a point where after that's all done, there's a point where you have to be able to, if you want people to take you seriously at all, you have to be able to say, my side did this wrong.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, like for example, like, I don't know how people are still like backing. Like, CNN got caught again, like, faking news stories. Did you see that bullshit thing where they found somebody in Syria that was...
I saw a couple little things on that, but I gotta be honest with you. There's like this entire region of the world that starts at about Greece and goes all the way to India, and I've just stopped paying attention to that.
You know what? All right. All right.
It's kind of like a no-fly zone. So, because I understand that any news that comes out of there right now is going to be bullshit. So,
okay.
I mean, Syria fell, and it took the America bad guys about 15 fucking minutes to reclog my Twitter feed with the Aaron Mates and Max Blumenthals of the fucking world.
What's the problem?
I don't know, Jeff. So, but man, do they get loud when something like that happens in the Middle East. And so I was just like, all right, fine. So I'm done. So,
all right.
Yeah. At that point in time.
Okay.
And so, yeah, no, if there's CNN bullshit stories, I am not surprised. So I'm not fucking surprised. You think they just like, it took like 2 weeks for them to learn their lesson? No.
Okay.
So, I mean, like, to MSNBC's credit, they are not coming off that island. So, so they're going to be the pirate ship radio out there. Okay, great. All right. But CNN tried to dock. So, and tell the rest of us that, hey, it's cool. It's cool. And, we're like, no, man, it's not cool.
Well,
so,
yeah. Well, okay, so if on that one, and I get your version of this where it's you're right, where it's like, we're gonna wait 50 years on this one. The one that I will like, you do have to like, if you are one of the people, and there's a lot of them, if you're one of the people that took that interview and said when Biden said, I am not going to pardon my son, and then when he pardoned his son, you said, oh, this is cool, right? You're the problem. You have to be able to say like, actually that's
bullshit.
That is bullshit. You don't Whoopi Goldberg this and say like, he wasn't lying because you don't know what he was in his heart. I'm like, would you extend that same latitude to somebody on the other team? It's like you would not.
He would not.
And again, that's the component there of who was it that it was Stephanopoulos that just got rung up.
That guy is useless.
That
guy is useless.
ABC extended his contract.
I know. So ABC is useless, man.
Yeah,
so they lost me after the debate. So
yeah, ABC is.
I didn't actually mind David Muir before then, but then it was like, oh, you're one of those guys too. Fuck you.
You fell in line, homeboy.
I know, man. Yeah. I was like, oh. So, because like he was on After 13 News, which is my favorite newscast. So,
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So, I just tolerated him for a bit, and then he did the debate, and I was like, oh.
It's like, you're a toady.
And he was the worst out of both of them too.
He was.
So, but yeah, no. So like, I don't know, man. So, but there's like certain people in the media world that just I do not pay attention to them. So, those guys, David Muir and CNN. Man, I can't think of the last time I watched CNN. So. It's been a minute.
I mean, I wouldn't. Obviously, I wouldn't too.
I don't even click on their links, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't pay for television, and the more that I think about it, I think this is the best way that I can say it is, I don't pay for television because you're not putting out anything on television that's worth paying for.
No, there's nothing out there that's worth your money. So, well, except I pay for football. So,
football's fine. It's
Football's
live
different.
sports. As a matter of fact, I would not mind going to the model at some point where they say like, you want to watch football? I was like, yeah. It's like 50 cents a game.
Yeah, right. It's like, would you like gas? Yeah, I'd like to pay a nickel for it.
Or something like that. It's like, what games do you want to watch? I'm like, I want to watch this.
A la carte TV is never going to happen. It's like fucking hypersonic travel, man. So, looks great on paper. I'm sorry, though, bro. Sorry.
I don't know. No, again,
I get it, man, but there's no way, unless we go to like the BBC public access model and they grab they just take over the NFL. Okay, there is no fucking way. All right, that you're gonna wind up paying 50 cents a game. I mean, yeah, maybe. Okay, all right. So, but you'd have to buy all of them.
That's the thing. I don't want all of them.
There you go, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I want to switch between these two, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna buy this game and this game. That's $2. I'll flip between these two.
Yeah, no.
Do you want to watch Thursday night? I'm like,
I'm busy this Thursday.
I don't. A lot of people do. And
maybe they ask you like 20 minutes before the game starts. Hey, you said 50 cents. How about a quarter?
See, that's what I'm talking about.
It'll never happen.
Yeah.
It'd be like buying gas on credit, man. So, just show up. Just put it on my tab.
This reminds me of is there are people that you know, I hate to bring this up to the basketball scandal because it's a classic example. It's like once you find cheating, then it puts everything, it unwinds everything, right? So there are people out there who, like, let's say they're gonna fly in 6 weeks,
Okay.
right? You and I both know that generally you're going to get a better rate by buying further out,
Yeah.
right? And because some places, right, did the thing where if you check the price a couple of times, they might bump it up.
The price?
Yeah. There
Really?
were that for a little bit there were a couple companies that were doing that, right?
It's clever.
Well, see, here's
dirty
the thing.
bull, but it's clever.
Well, it was argued that they did this, but here's the thing.
Oh, I see where you're going. Yeah.
Right. So there were people that would say like, well, you can't trust those prices no matter when you get it. And you see what I'm saying? Where it's like,
Right.
no, actually, buy early.
Yeah.
Trust that price. Don't shop it. Like when you get that, when you find a good price, just buy it.
Just buy it.
Because you and I also both know that if the fare schedule is anything at all like it used to be,
Oh, I don't even know.
I can't prove for sure. I don't know if they still have the same classes, but I'll bet you there's a vestige of it that it's at least still there, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no version like it can also like if somebody cancels, it can kick back something out to like, okay, well we didn't have a J class ticket. It's like now there is one available. It's $40 less, or these got sapped up, so it's going to be a little bit more, right? The whole thing where it's like, oh, they're manipulating you because you keep refreshing. I'm like, no, not really. Man.
No, it's just the actual flight information is updating. So,
You know, so
yeah, you're right.
it's that same thing where you see a conspiracy and people believe it because maybe it happened once. Maybe, you know, maybe it did. Maybe Priceline was doing that for a little bit.
Priceline, I guarantee. So, yeah. You know, well, I don't know about, multiple clicks from the same IP raise the rate. So, but they were absolutely up to fair shenanigans.
Right.
I don't think they were targeting individual customers.
Right.
So, yeah. But
so I don't know, man. It's dumb. I guess this is just you and me winding down and say like these are a list of things that are dumb.
there's a lot of dumb going on out there right now. I guess it's moderate level of dumb. So, like, Choppy C's dumb. Not like hurricane level dumb.
Well,
We've done enough hurricane level dumb this year. I think most people have actually disengaged from a lot of shit. So, judging by like the conversations at the yacht club and things like that, it's all football now. So
it's all football.
It's all football. There's no more politics. There's no like, oh, do you know what's going on in Syria? No, people don't give two fucks what's going on in Syria.
Well, well, before this, did you?
Who, me?
No. Just general people. It's like, do you hear what was going on? It's like, no, but did you? Were you following this for weeks? It's like, all right, got it.
That's good. That's good retort. So,
well, no, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's like if you've been following this, it's like I got it, but this is the first time I've heard you talk.
Yeah,
about
you gotta bring me up to speed.
The thing I'm reconciling, and this is more so what maybe this is sort of like an end of year, review of if I know the facts, why don't I actually apply them? So one of the things here is, like, I know people were getting hot about the assassination, the CEO assassination, right? And
Yeah.
one of the reasons people were getting hot was because there's a crowd of people that were like, good, right? Had it coming.
Yeah, there were.
And
most of those guys are trolls, but not all.
there's a section of people that, of course, Pat, it's the anti-work crowd.
Yeah,
okay?
I know. Yeah.
You know
15-minute walkable cities and 10-hour work week crowd.
We know who they are. We know what spores they come from. It's just we know that we're
in a chest burster.
Hey, dude, you know what it is? It's like you live in a high humidity area. You don't leave food out, right? That's how you
Right,
get,
yeah.
That's how you get 15-minute city people, right? But So, you have these people that are like cheering this guy on and stuff like that. There's entire like subreddits and all of Blue Sky is in love with this guy. Fact of the matter is, this is not information that's new to me because we've always had people that are like, oh, that dude died? It's like, yeah, it's like, good.
Good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Right? It's just that it's more in my face. It's not that, oh, society has degenerated. It's like, no, I just see it now.
I don't know anybody who... I haven't had a single person express to me good on that one.
We don't hang out with good.
No, but I mean, like, I mean, I work on a college campus, and I didn't even get that. So, you know.
Right.
And I mean, there are bona fide radicals at my work. So there are. I've seen the chalk drawings, Jeff. So, you know.
But are you having a conversation with these people?
No, not well, I mean, sometimes, but not on this. No. So but it's not being forced in my face either. So,
yeah,
it's just, it's one of those things like, I mean, and I saw more of it on like YouTube Shorts than I did on Twitter. So, because they get imported from TikTok. TikTok needs to be destroyed. I'm sorry. It's just, it's a rat's nest of bad, like, see, the problem with TikTok, though, is that sometimes it's fucking hilarious. So, correct. Yeah, you know, so, like, but whatever. Anyway, maybe I'll retract that statement, you know.
Well...
This isn't something or if it originates on TikTok, you should be really careful. So because there is, now that I'm on the Telegram on my phone, which there really was a leap for me. Because I had to force myself to go on my computer. So, you know, I'd actually doom scroll for a little bit, you know, with the scroll wheel, not my thumb, you know? So it was like a treat, you know?
I get
now it's in my face. So, right. You know, and so...
You can close it, though.
But you can definitely close it, but you can see how things germinate. I'm not on Facebook, so I don't know if this is actually true, but you can see how they basically they germinate on fucking TikTok or on Telegram, and then they migrate to TikTok, and then you see them on Twitter or you see them on YouTube Shorts after that, you know, because you'll see clip versions on either one of those two things, you know. But you can see the origin of a lot of that shit on Telegram where they float it to see if it actually gets some traffic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So. And so, like, some of the CEO stuff, I was watching that germinate on fucking Telegram, you know, and then, you know, okay, so this one's spiking, so let me wait a little bit, and boom, there it is. This guy picked it up over here on YouTube, on a TikTok, and now he's got a YouTube short because he uploads to both. So, and there it goes. You know, I can see his TikTok review count because they never changed the template. You know, and so like, okay, yeah, so you got 1.2 million views on this already on TikTok by the time you can turn around and upload it over to YouTube, and now you got 1 million views over there too. Great. So, yeah. And all it is direct, you know. So, and so, but you mentioned Blue Sky. I want to end on that note, man, because I did read something. I actually read this. I didn't watch it. I actually read this the other day on this dude's Substack, and he's a pretty sharp kid. But anyway, he was talking about like the fragmentation of the internet, and he was comparing Blue Sky to a giant, great big Reddit. So, and it's like, this is what's happening. And he was breaking down all the statistics of like user groups on certain platforms. There is not a King Daddy out there. There really isn't, man. So not like there was, because he was looking all the way back to the original Facebook and MySpace days.
Right.
There's nothing like that anymore.
Yeah.
So, and he was making the argument. He's like, that's a good thing because the internet was extra shitty, you know, when everybody was on the same two sites. So, yeah. And he's like, this is Gamergate and all that stuff from way back in 2012, yada yada. And it was because everybody was paying attention to the same fucking things. All the journalists were on Twitter at that time, so you could get in a fist fight with, you know, dudes at the New York Times as easily as you could, you know, some kid who was running a newsletter out of his dorm. And he was like, now that, you know, like, all right, so Twitter's still a free for all, but it's very educated. So there's a kind of special group of people. They fit within a certain age bracket. They fit within a certain SE, social economic status. So like he was pointing out, there's very few poor people on Twitter.
There's not. You know what's funny?
So he said there used to be this thing called Black Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay, it's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it still exists,
It's not what it used to
but
be.
it is. It's not. It's that.
Yeah.
That's IG. That's
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so he was talking about like where people had migrated to and the different demographics in each one. He was like, look, it's getting fragmented internet, so you can kind of like a la carte what kind of internet you want right now. And then he was particularly paying attention to the youngest generation who are getting on the internet. They are ghosties. Okay? They're on the internet, but you can't see them. Okay? Because they're all wrapped up in Discord servers. And he's like, if you don't have an invite, you have no fucking clue what's going
true.
on in there.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That's true. And you have to go beg for one.
And you have to beg for one. Yep. So, and he's like, this might be a good thing, you know? So he's like, we don't know because the youngest generation doesn't know what kind of generation it's going to be on the internet yet. So he says that will take a decade to sort out. So
You're correct. Well, all right.
but he did say that Blue Sky was a particular, he's like, there's this particular, like, semi-X / boomer / like very politically aligned, group that is basically taken to the lifeboats. But the ship wasn't actually sinking. So they're on their own.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It was kind of funny. So
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's and obviously I don't. So the one thing that is different that I would say that is different compared to like the Facebook MySpace days, there was one other. I don't want to say superpower because it's absolutely not true. It's virtually dead now. That was also the last bastion for when message boards had clout.
Yeah,
right?
You're right.
So if you're on something awful, if you're on some of the big places, that's dead now.
It is.
That's dead now.
Yeah,
and you know what? That's fine. I have no problem with this because most of these places were embarrassing. Right?
Well, that's what Discord's become. It's just become the host for all of those, and they're all under lock and key. So
those things more or less turned into Tumblr, turned into Reddit. Okay,
fair.
Because Reddit is still in that garbage message format. It's like this is the how. All right, so the estimate now is basically like Reddit is at least 50% bots. Like at this point, it's it's a waste. Like because they'll look at it and they'll say like, all right, so this board has like 60,000 subscribers.
Right.
12 people post here.
60,000 times.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like none of this adds up. It's like this is all like inflated shit and dead accounts. So Reddit is still what it is. It's a leftist hole in the wall, right? That doesn't have any like. It still doesn't have any weight to it anymore because like the actual communities, the thing that Reddit did well was it allowed easy creation of sub communities, right? That was the whole purpose of it, was that you could subdivide. You could sit there and say like, all right, so you start here in 80s TV, right? And if you notice that too many people are talking about Cheers, all right, go to the Cheers subreddit.
There's a Cheers subreddit.
Right? That was the thing about it. What happened? Well, they had power mods there. And they had a whole bunch of people that said, like, well, we don't like these subreddits. We're going to ban these subreddits. We're going to do this. And like, so you had a couple of dudes. And again, the worst thing that you could ever do, is implement the karma system that they had over there, where it's like, so you have good boy posts, and you get tallies for this, and you get awards for this.
Right.
And if you get downvoted enough, your shit disappears.
Right.
You're like, this is...
You can literally vote people off the island,
You do.
And then you use bots to do it,
Yeah. And so you have this incestuous hole, and so everybody leaves it, right? They go... The thing about Twitter, and you said, like, you're right, this is they have a certain amount of education, a certain, like, demographic. The thing about Reddit
they're not poor.
but everybody cries poverty.
Oh, but they're not.
That's the
They
thing.
are not.
That is
Yeah.
the thing. You have a lot of people
Yeah.
that cry poverty. You have a lot
Yeah.
of people that I've been on disability, for my severe autism. It's like, dude,
Oh
no,
my
you're
God.
not.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
The,
Anyway.
the self-flagellation on Twitter is entertaining to say the least, and sometimes like gross. I mean,
Oh, the pity Olympics.
the pity Olympics. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah. I see it from time. You don't see it as much, but if like a couple of the guys that I follow on there, if you dive into their comments, you run into it almost within the first two. So, and it's just, oh, sometimes it's funny because
Sometimes
it's like,
it's funny.
no, you're not poor. So, you spelled disability wrong. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, no, you wouldn't qualify for SNAP. So, and what you're really talking about is TAMF.
Yes, and you have a lot of people. Again, this came up with the healthcare thing. It's just like, they're raising all these points. I'm like, bro, you're still on your parents' insurance.
Right, yeah, exactly. Or I've seen some people, I pay this much for my, thing. I was like, that's a great price. What are you talking about? I pay like
Oh,
$150 more than
yeah.
you do. So, it's like I'm supposed to feel bad for you? Come on, bro. So,
I know. And yeah, so when you get to TikTok, you're not. I can't say it must be destroyed because it's not.
I'm going to retract that. But
Well, the problem is it's close, but it still does have redeeming value.
it is where all the funny videos have gone. So, the creative people who put up really funny shit, they do it on TikTok, man. So,
Look, it's a restrictive format. It's designed to
right.
It's designed to get people in and out. Is it one of the leading contributors of young people brain rot? The answer is yes. Is it one of the reasons that, as a literature expert, that I see people not lingering with stories and caring about structure and caring about character development and pathos and all this other
All right,
stuff?
bust out the other finger to wag here.
Does it bother me? Yes, absolutely it bothers me. But as all things go, it is cyclical. It is completely cyclical. We don't need television shows in 6 acts. It is okay to go ahead and reduce things in time. I would even argue possibly that The Godfather is a little bit long.
It is a little bit long. And
Do
it has
I
to miss
enjoy it?
punch. Yeah.
Do I enjoy it? Yes. Because I like slow, stupid things. Because of my upbringing. And every time William comes to me and says, the shit you watch is boring, he's never wrong.
I don't know if he made it that far to hear that compliment, but I guess we'll find out next
It's
time.
totally okay. That's why the admission comes at the end of the episode instead of the beginning.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So,
I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
Hitting the button.
Let's go.